Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. The Reform Party has a new MP, and as you'd expect, it's one that's come over from the Conservatives, Danny Kruger. And the press conference they just gave says everything you need to know.
Mr. Kruger, you've previously called Reform a destructive force, so I'm wondering what's changed.
Reform is a destructive force. It's destructive of the established parties, and I mean that's
a very good pivot. I like that.
What I don't believe, though, is reform is destructive of our country. In fact, quite the reverse.
But he was saying that the Reform Party is destructive to the UK, because listen to what he actually says.
They're a destructive force. I think it would be a tragedy if they did end up replacing us. But their general critique of what's wrong, I think, is mostly valid.
The logic of that is the Reform Party is destructive to the UK, but they are right about what's wrong with the UK, and I actually agree with that. The Reform Party is very good at pointing out the problems that we're all facing, whether it's poverty, high crime, a struggling NHS, but their solutions all make it worse, and they've admitted that themselves.
We're getting poor for a variety of reasons, of which Brexit is one.
So Danny Kruger is simply joining a party that he knows is destructive to the UK. But then he's asked specifically about why he's leaving the Conservatives to join Reform.
Pete, what does Nigel Farage got that Kevin Badenoch hasn't got as a leader?
I think the problem is the Conservative Party. So any leader that the Conservatives have, I think, would struggle with two essential problems. One is a divided parliamentary party and indeed party in the country. And secondly, a toxic brand. And it's not just a brand problem, it's a real problem. The fact is the country doesn't trust Conservatives because of their record in office over the last 14 years, and particularly the last few years.
He is telling us to our faces that he left the Conservatives because they have a bad brand, i.e. a brand that cannot win elections, i.e. if he stayed with them, he would lose his job. This is not some ideological thing. He's not doing it because he believes it's best for the country. He's doing it to save his own ass. But what I really want to think about is what he says about how people have had enough with the Conservatives, that their record over the last 14 years is the reason why they've failed so badly. But the Conservatives have only really had two policies in the last 14 years. That was Brexit and austerity, both of which were supported by Nigel Farage. In fact, you could argue that Nigel Farage was a driving force behind both of them, because the reason that David Cameron called the referendum on leaving the EU in the first place was because he was scared of losing votes to UKIP, which was headed up by Nigel Farage. So it was essentially Nigel Farage who brought Brexit to the UK, and it has made all of us poorer, and he has admitted that.
Is we haven't actually benefited from Brexit economically.
And everything from financial services to fisheries is probably more difficult now than it was.
Then there's austerity. In 2012, David Cameron was making working class people poorer by cutting financial assistance. As part of his wider plans to save money after the financial crash, plans which have been found to have cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. And guess who was there cheering him on? Nigel Farage. He explicitly said that David Cameron's plans for cutting welfare were excellent and couldn't come soon enough. So everything the Conservatives have done, which has made people lose trust in them, which has damaged people's quality of life, Nigel Farage has been cheering it on. Hell, he wanted an even more extreme Brexit than the one we ended up with. He wanted a no-deal Brexit. All you're seeing now by Tory MPs leaving the Conservatives to join Reform is them just jumping ship because that one is tarnished. Which is kind of the same thing Nigel Farage did. As soon as everybody realised that UKIP was just a bunch of racists, he helped form the Brexit Party. But once Brexit had happened and everybody associated Brexit with them getting poorer, it couldn't be called the Brexit Party anymore, so now it's Reform. These people do not give a shit about the effect that they are having on the people of the UK. It is just a game to them. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.